The top stories tonight in Y News. A political analyst believes that Partido Reporma's withdrawal of support to Senator Panfilo Lacson will not change his poll ratings. However, Senator Lacson says his low ranking is not the reason Partido Reporma switched sides.
The Philippines will be allowing the entry of fully vaccinated foreign nationals from any country without the need for an entry exemption document starting next month.
The operation of free rides on the Metrorail Transit Line 3 from March 28 to April 30 would cost the government 2.7 million pesos per day.
Ukraine accused Moscow of forcibly taking hundreds of thousands of civilians from shattered Ukrainian cities to Russia.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. We are now reporting live from Quezon City. Today is Friday, March 25, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website untvweb.com. I am Kat Dumaraos.
First in the news. A political analyst believes that the Partido Reporma's decision to withdraw its support to Senator Panfilo Lacson might not matter at all in his candidacy. Meanwhile, Senator Lacson dismissed claims that it was his low rankings in poll surveys that prompted the party to switch sides. Nelmari Bohok will tell us why.
Presidential candidate Senator Panfilo Lacson is still way behind other candidates in the pre-election surveys. According to Michael Henry Yusinco, Senior Research Fellow of the Ateneo School of Government, the Partido Reporma's withdrawal of support to Lacson will not change his ratings in the surveys. Given that it's only more than a month before the May 2022 elections.
Let's be frank here, he's really not performing well in the surveys. So in the overall scheme of things, what happened to him might not matter at all.
Senator Lacson meanwhile dismissed claims that it was his low rankings in poll surveys that prompted Partido Reporma's withdrawal of support to him, but his inability to provide funds for the party's local candidates. Yusinco said the campaign team of Lacson should change their strategy to get more votes from Filipinos.
Obviously, that hasn't worked. So they have to change, no? They have to make adjustments in their strategies. But I'm not sure if it's going to, if it's still going to work. No, we're close to 1 month before the election, so we'll see.
Yusinco further advised other candidates to recalibrate their campaign strategies and focus more on the country's issues. Nelmari Buhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Filipinos should no longer be surprised with the changes in supported candidates of each political party, according to presidential candidate Leni de Guzman. The labor leader said it is time for Filipinos to wake up and see whose interests are they actually pushing for. Nestor Torres will give us the details live. Nestor, according to Leni, what is the meaning behind the decision changes of some parties?
Kat, according to presidential candidate Leni de Guzman, all of these parties are just similar in terms of only prioritizing and the divisions of privileges and power. That is why, according to him, it is easy for these parties to join forces and throw each other under the bus. In addition to this, according to the labor leader, it seems that these said parties are fighting among themselves, yet they are all just similarly fighting for and pushing for the interests of businessmen behind each party. For these parties, principles and platforms are only used to gain votes. That is why Leni's plea to the public is for them to open its eyes to the manipulations of these parties. The labor leader also condemned the rumor handing out of envelopes containing money in some campaign rallies. According to Leni, the platforms of each candidate is what the public should look into and not temporary gains themselves they offered.
Siguro, tiyakin lang na mas mag-focus sila doon sa plataforma nila. Yun ang paraan ng pag-umbinsi at huwag iwasan yung pangangampanya patay sa dami ng pera. Para maging mas makabuluhan ang kampanya ngayon, ano yung mga plataforma nila sa kailang pagtakbo? Kaya yung health, yung education, at employment ang baka makatulong yung ating mga LGUs.
Kat Caliotis Parties is conducting a proclamation rally tonight in Bagong Silang, Caloocan. Kat?
Thank you, Nestor Torres, reporting live from Caloocan City.
National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict Under Secretary Lorraine Maribadoy, as well as other officials, are facing election code complaints in the Commission on Elections. Dante Amento tells us why.
Members of the Makabayan Bloc filed a complaint before the COMELEC today against National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-ELCAC spokesperson Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy and 8 other NTF-ELCAC officials. Former Bayan Muna Representative Teddy Casino says they also urged the poll body to immediately investigate Badoy and for her to be removed from office. The complaint is due to the continuous red tagging by the NTF-ELCAC against the Makabayan Bloc and Vice President Leni Robredo.
Ang sinasabi ho natin na yung pang-red tag ni Yusek Badoy at ng NTF-ELCAC, hindi lang sa amin na mga makabayan parties at mga party list representatives, kundi pati kay Vice President Leni Robredo, ay isang criminal act. Dahil unang-una, ito ay bawal na ang isang public official ay nag-electioneering.
The complainants added Badoy violated the Omnibus Election Code as a public official by promoting candidates, which is a form of electioneering. Badoy and some NTF-ELCAC officials are also allegedly using machinery and government funds for red tagging. Former Solon Ariel Casilao stresses other individuals will also file separate complaints against Badoy at the Department of Justice or Civil Service Commission.
Kapag ginagaya ninyo si Yusek Badoy, lalo pa yung mga opisyal ng militar, opisyal ng mga kapulisan sa iba't ibang mga rehiyon na kung saan ang aming mga kasapi ay pinapatay, hinuhuli ng walang batayan, kinukulong ng illegal, dahil po yan sa red tagging.
The UNTV News asked for Yusek Badoy's reaction on the issue, but she has still no response. Earlier, the official disclosed that the NTF-ELCAC has been subjected to the foolishness of the CPP, NPA, NDF through filing cases. They are not afraid of the said complaints but welcome it instead. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police has not monitored any threat to the May 9 elections as the campaign period for local candidates officially kicked off today. Lea Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police did not receive report of any significant incident that would have marred the start of the 45-day campaign period of local candidates. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo declares the election process as generally peaceful and orderly.
Sa ngayon, ma'am, wala po tayong natatanggap na credible threat that will somehow disrupt the ongoing election campaign period at lalong-lalo na papalapit na yung ating election sa Bayo. Subalit, hindi po natin ito basta na lamang iti-take lightly.
Despite seeing no credible threats, the PNP continues its intelligence monitoring and assessment. More than 30,000 police officers were also deployed nationwide to secure the election activities. This is in addition to the 40,000 policemen deployed for COMELEC checkpoint. The PNP reminded candidates and their supporters to be mindful of the public health standards set by the government against COVID-19. Lea Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Presidential candidate Vice President Leni Robredo vows to push for the passage of a version of the Security of Tenure bill under her administration. Meanwhile, the independent candidate is also in favor of suspending online cockfighting or e-sabong. This report will tell us why. Presidential candidate and Vice President Leni Robredo will push for a security of tenure law that will strike a balance between employees and employers should she win the presidency. In her interview with Candidatos of Go Negosyo and One News, Robredo says this will also give employees the protection that they need. In 2019, President Duterte vetoed the security of tenure bill, noting that legitimate job contracting should be allowed.
Mahalaga na maipasa yung security of tenure bill dahil kabahagi ng bill yung pag-asikaso din ng mga definition under the labor code. Pag hindi kasi ito pinag-usapan, nandun lang tayo sa pag very contentious siya, wala talaga tayong mapapala.
Meanwhile, Robredo also believes that the online cockfighting or e-sabong should be suspended, citing its social costs. This is amid reports of disappearances and suicide of cockfight enthusiasts and access of minors to gambling.
Kailangang isuspend na to at the soonest possible time na imbestigahan kung itutuloy ito in the future. Ano ba yung safeguards na hindi mangyayari yung nangyayari ngayon? Worth ba yun ng pera na kukuha ng pamahalaan? Para sa akin, hindi eh.
President Duterte earlier rejected the calls of some senators to suspend e-sabong operations due to revenue losses. The Senate Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs has been conducting hearings on at least 30 missing cockfight enthusiasts in the country. Hardin Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority provides additional breaks for traffic law enforcers and street sweepers, but the agency assures that these will not affect their operations. Asher Kadapan Jr. explains why.
The country has been experiencing an increased heat index as dry season began in mid-March. Severe temperature causes heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and dehydration, among others. With this, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority find ways to protect their personnel deployed in the streets of Metro Manila. This is by providing a new additional 30-minute break for traffic law enforcers and street sweepers starting April 1.
Meron tayong heat stroke break. Yan yung taon-taon na ginagawa natin pag dumarating itong summertime. Binibigyan natin ng 15 minutes na break sa umaga, tapos sa tanghali, tapos sa hapon para medyo makapahinga naman yung ating mga enforcers.
On top of this, concerned MMDA field personnel may also get another 15-minute break if the heat index shoots up to at least 40 degrees Celsius. Despite all these provisions, the MMDA says they have strategies in place to ensure that designated posts will not be abandoned.
Pero ano yan, kumbaga, we are sure na hindi mawawala ng tao. So by shifting din yan, naka-arrange din yan. Meron kaming mga deployment, may oras kung kailan ka pwedeng magpahinga para hindi naman mawala yung ating mga enforcers sa ating mga main roads.
The heat stroke breaks for MMDA field personnel takes effect until May 31, 2022. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. The Department of Tourism expressed optimism that more foreign tourists will visit the country with the easing of travel restrictions starting next month. Rosalie Cos explains why.
Foreign nationals from whatever country or jurisdiction, as long as they are fully vaccinated and comply with applicable visa and immigration laws and rules, will be able to enter the Philippines without the need of an entry exemption. They also do not need to undergo facility-based quarantine starting on April 1, 2022.
Right now, as long as they're able to present to us acceptable proof of vaccination, then they may enter the country.
Tourism Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat said that because of the recent decision of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases or IATF, more foreign nationals will be encouraged to visit the country. The tourism chief assures the transition will be done carefully in accordance with prescribed health and safety measures. Apart from acceptable proof of vaccination, foreign travelers must present negative result of RT-PCR test taken within 48 hours or laboratory-based antigen test taken within 24 hours before departure for the Philippines. They should have valid passports for a period of at least 6 months and must also obtain a travel insurance for COVID-19 treatment costs with a minimum coverage of $35,000 or 1.8 million pesos. Though a facility-based quarantine is no longer required, foreign travelers shall self-monitor for any sign or symptom for 7 days. They are also required to report to the local government unit of their destination should they manifest any symptoms. The full border reopening comes after President Rodrigo Duterte directed the further easing of entry protocols for foreign tourists as part of the 10-point policy agenda of the administration to bring back the economy's growth path. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health appeals to 44 million Filipinos who are eligible to get booster shots to avail of this extra dose. Meanwhile, the government is planning to hold special vaccination days before the end of March. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The booster vaccination rate in the Philippines has a slow uptake. According to the Department of Health, convincing Filipinos to get their booster shot is challenging. Out of the 65.2 million fully vaccinated Filipinos, almost 12 million Filipinos had their booster shots. With this data, more than 40 million Filipinos are still unboosted.
Meron tayong about 44 million who are already eligible to receive their booster shot. So nananawagan po tayo sa ating mga kababayan na nakatanggap na po ng primary series nila o nakatapos ng first and second dose, kailangan nyo pong magpa-booster shot.
The DOH reminds the public to get additional protection against COVID-19 variants.
At gusto natin iparating sa ating mga kababayan na napaka-importante po ng booster shots dahil ito po ay nakakapagbigay ng karagdagang proteksyon para sa atin because we know that the immunity from vaccines wanes over time.
The DOH has set dates for special vaccination days in regions with low vaccination coverage. On March 29 to 31, the DOH will deploy teams to Cebu for the special vaccination days. And on March 30, 31 and April 1, it will be held in Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM. Meanwhile, the DOH is in talks with other countries and organizations for the government's plan to donate COVID-19 vaccines.
The Philippines is planning to donate vaccines also to other countries para makatulong din po tayo sa kanila. Tayo po ay nakapagsulat na at naprubahan na rin po ang marami ng ating Food and Drug Administration sa extension po ng expiry ng ating mga bakunang meron tayo ngayon sa ating bansa.
The DOH has been checking the country's inventory of COVID-19 vaccines since early March to monitor how many COVID-19 vaccines the country still have. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Refugees or stateless persons can experience easier and faster process to become Filipino citizens. The Supreme Court says the naturalization process will only take 90 days. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The Supreme Court has approved the ruling on facilitated naturalization of refugees or stateless persons. According to the Supreme Court, it is high time to approve such a ruling to provide better service to individuals in need of a new country.
As the world watched the development of war in the Baltic region, it lay witness to the humanitarian crisis that followed. On our television screens, we saw millions of people flee from their homeland, while millions still remain internally displaced.
Based on the new ruling, the procedure will only take at least 90 days. Previously, the process to become a Filipino citizen will take years or even at least a decade. Based on the data of the Supreme Court, the judiciary only processed 8 petitions for Filipino citizenship from 2016 to 2018. Apart from the shortened process, petitions will only have to pay 50% of the legal fees.
The rule provides an expeditious and inexpensive procedure for the acquisition of Philippine citizenship by refugees and stateless persons. This is consistent with the aim to streamline court processes to ensure an efficient, fair, and speedy delivery of justice.
Unaccompanied child refugee will also be allowed to file a petition. The United Nations Philippines welcomes the new ruling and highlights its importance amid the Russia-Ukraine crisis.
These persons of concern no longer need to wait for years before they can become Filipinos through its expedited procedure. And I think that this is extremely important in a context where this world, is severely affected by the forced displacement of people as a result of the climate crisis and, as we see, as a result of war.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees also lauded the ruling for also allowing people of concern to change their name. According to the UNHCR, more than 3 million Ukrainians already fled their home country after Russian attacks.
It is also interesting to note that change of name is an option under the rule, which thereby gives people of concern an opportunity to share their roots and rebuild their lives.
With the SC ruling, the UNHCR said it can benefit around 800 individuals who are stateless and are seeking for a new home country. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Ukraine accuses Russia of taking hundreds of thousands of civilians from their shattered cities by force, a move that Ukrainian intelligence believes to be Russia's intention to put pressure on Ukraine into giving up. Jane Robles will give us the details live. Yes, Jane?
Good evening, Harleen. Ukrainian intelligence believes that the civilians may be used by Russia as hostages in economically depressed areas in Russia and are being offered jobs on the condition that they do not leave for 2 years. According to Ukraine's foreign ministry, around 6,000 residents from Mariupol alone were taken by Moscow's troops to Russian filtration camps, while 15,000 residents' identity documents or passports were confiscated. Donetsk region's governor Pavlo Kyrylenko said that Russian forces may have persuaded Mariupol's residents to move to Russia by giving them false claims about Ukraine's defeats. Moreover, Ukraine Ombudsman Ludmila Denisova gave a tally of around 402,000 people and 84,000 children that were taken to Russia. In a recent summit, President Zelensky also addressed the representatives of the G7 about their citizens and the weaponry support they need.
Людей, яких Росія примусово щоденно вивозить на свою територію, позбавляє документів, все забирається, засобів зв'язку і розподіляє по своїм регіонам. Спочатку озброєння для України, спочатку щотижнево посилювати санкції проти Росії, тобто спочатку мир. У нас є сила, щоб це зробити, у вас є сила, щоб це зробити.
At the latest, the United Nations Human Rights Office reported that the civilian death toll in Ukraine has now exceeded to 1,000. Harleen?
So, Jane, what has Russia got to say about Ukraine's accusations?
Well, Harleen, the Kremlin also gave similar figures to what was given by Ukraine's ombudsman. However, Harleen, Russia claims that these residents wanted to go to Russia and willingly relocated. Russian authorities also said that they are providing accommodations and dispensing payments to the evacuees. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Jane Robles, reporting live.
If Russia uses nuclear weapons against Ukraine, the U.S. would respond, U.S. President Joe Biden said at a news conference in Brussels. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine enters its first month, and Kremlin has expressed the possibility of using these weapons if there is an existential threat. With that, a team of experts has been set up by the White House to make plans on how the U.S. would respond in case of this scenario. The strategy group has been working to make contingency plans for scenarios such as Russia's potential use of chemical or biological weapons, possible disruptions to the global food supply chains, and handling the growing refugee crisis. President Biden is now in Brussels to discuss the possible use of nuclear weapons by Russia with NATO and other European leaders.
Several locations in the United States are predicted to have record high temperatures over the weekend. Marvy Delfin details why live.
Arlene, the western United States will experience an unusual event of record-breaking and early season heat through the weekend. This is due to a strong high-pressure system building across the country and will remain in the coming days. According to Sierra Littlefield, a meteorologist from the National Weather Service, or NWS, this heat season came earlier than expected. Furthermore, according to Matt Woods, another meteorologist from NWS, they forecasted 91 degrees on Saturday. If they reach 92, it will break the all-time high in March 2004. Meanwhile, the Weather Prediction Center forecasts almost 100 locations across California, the Great Basin, and the Southwest to exceed record high maximums in the coming days. Harleen?
Marvi, are there specific concerns with the hot season coming earlier in the U.S.?
Yes, Harleen, there are some concerns for those not accustomed to high heat. This is due to the jump of temperature from 60s to 80s. Moreover, those places with higher terrain, which usually experience greatest snowfall during March, will have seasonal shock due to this heat. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Marvi Delfin, reporting live.
3 years into the COVID-19 pandemic, and low-income countries still receive mistreatment, while well-developed countries take majority of COVID-19 vaccines. Ryuji Sasaki will give us the details live. Yes, Ryuji?
Kath, the vaccine inequity was condemned by the World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, and so the WHO initiated the COVAX movement to supply low-income countries with vaccines, including the Novavax vaccine. A leading organization for the COVAX movement invested $388 million in the Novavax vaccine as it showed effective results. This increases the rate of production and makes it highly suitable to roll out for poor countries because of its ease of transport and storage. However, a large part of Novavax vaccines has now been sent to rich countries, as stated by drug policy expert Zain Rizvi. The Serum Institute of India, which manufactures Novavax vaccine, has disclosed that the Netherlands received over 28.9 million doses in January and February, while Australia received 6 million and Indonesia received 9 million doses back in December. This has ultimately impacted the Novavax initiative as vaccine doses supplied low-income countries like Zimbabwe, the Central African Republic, and Kiribati, which were set to receive doses this month, have now been delayed to April or May. Kath?
Ryuji, currently, what is that vaccination status of those in low-income countries?
Kath, in an Oxford University data report, it was said that only 14% of low-income country populations have received just one dose of COVID-19 vaccine. The World Health Organization also reported that 23 countries have yet to fully vaccinate 10% of their population. 73 countries are yet to reach the 40% fully vaccinated goal, while it is expected that a majority will miss the 70% full vaccination mid-year goal. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Ryuji Sasaki, reporting live.
Sleepiness during the day, short-term memory loss, inability to focus, and a lack of mental clarity might suggest that you have brain fog. But brain fog isn't actually a formal medical condition. Nerissa Danto explains why live. Yes, Nerissa?
Arlene, though brain fog isn't a medical condition, having the symptoms of it can be a sign that something's going on, according to experts. One major cause can be inflammatory conditions that affect the brain, such as COVID-19 infection or an autoimmune disease. Carlos Perez, a neurologist at Baylor College of Medicine in Texas, USA, said that when the central nervous system gets affected, that can lead to symptoms such as brain fog. Certain medications and metabolic issues, such as thyroid condition, are also factors that could result in brain fog or chemobrain. Brain fog is also prevalent in people going through chemotherapy. Meanwhile, a neurologist at UT Health's McGovern Medical School, Luis McCullough, suggests pregnancy and menopause could contribute to this memory problem, which is less concerning because of the self-limiting nature of pregnancy. However, brain fog can be quite severe, especially if it impairs one's daily activities. There are a lot of things that could potentially go wrong. The brain fog is very long-lasting and impedes normal activities, which, in that case, people should see a doctor. Arlene?
Thank you, Nerissa Dando reporting live.
The Department of Energy reminds gasoline stations to properly calibrate and seal their gas pumps. This after some gas stations were found selling inaccurate petroleum products. JP Nunez reports why.
The Department of Energy conducted its regular inspection among gasoline stations in Metro Manila earlier today. This is to ensure that prices of petroleum products are within standards and exact in amount amid increase of its prices. During the inspection, there are gas pumps found to be discrepant in amount. It lacked millimeters of measurement from a 10-liter calibrating bucket.
Mas mababa po siya sa tolerance set by DOE, which is minus 50 ml lang dapat ang tolerance for every 10-liter na calibration po. Lumalabas po ang average po na compute po namin is minus 70 ml po ang wala.
So sa simple salita, kulang.
Kulang po for every 10 liters po.
The DOE issued an out-of-order notice to the particular gas pumps and prevented gasoline stations to sell products from those specific pumps. Owners of the stations were given 10 days to explain their side to the department regarding the issue. However, one of the managers of gasoline stations explains discrepancy of amount was maybe due to frequent use of the pump.
Ito po kasi yung pump na laging nagagamit for diesel, kaya po siguro nagkaroon ng malfunctions, pero maaayos naman po agad.
The Energy Department reminds oil companies to conduct regular calibration of their gasoline pumps to ensure the public that they get the exact amount from their expense. The department emphasized its importance as there are many motorists suffering from the uncontrolled oil price hike.
Lugi po talaga yung customer. So, responsibility po talaga ng retail outlet na ensure sa consuming public na yung binibenta po nila is tama po yung quantity.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The implementation of the month-long free ride for passengers of Metrorail Transit Line 3 will take effect on Monday. The MRT3 management eyes spending about 2.7 billion pesos a day for the subsidy. Asher Cadapan Jr. details why.
The Metrorail Transit Line 3 has recently recorded an average number of passengers ranging from about 248,000 to almost 260,000 per day. In January 2022, an average daily revenue amounting to 2.7 million pesos per day was accounted. With this, the MRT3 management expects the same amount to spend in providing free ride to passengers for 30 days starting on Monday, March 28. The funding will come from the 7 billion peso yearly budget allocated to MRT3.
Kung pagbabasihan po natin yung ating experience noong January, nagkakaroon po tayo ng revenue na 2.7 million a day. So, yan po yung ating isa-subsidize po for making this libreng sakay po on a daily basis.
MRT3 Officer in Charge General Manager Engineer Michael Kapati, however, anticipates an increase in the number of passengers to 300,000 to 400,000 per day. Despite the expected influx of passengers, the MRT3 management assures they are ready to serve the commuters safer, faster, and more efficient. The travel time has now improved to only 40 to 45 minutes from an hour and 15 minutes prior to the rehabilitation of MRT3 in 2019. Aside from this, the MRT3 launches the operation of 2 4-car train sets in the revenue line, coinciding with the start of the free ride implementation on Monday.
Sa Monday, meron tayong 18 tatlong bagon. 18 3-car train na i-deploy natin. At meron tayong 2 4-car train, no?
The MRT3 vows to continue to rehabilitate its train to convert them to 4-car train to better serve the passengers. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Colossians, chapter 4, verse 6, it says, "Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man."
And those are the reasons behind the news March 25, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Kat Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am Hardin Delgado. We serve the people, we give glory to God.